All right, so it's 3 o'clock, 3:30 on Thursday for Tuesday, March 23rd. We're here for kind of a deep dive on Utah's online library. I think we've got our special guest star, Chris Hott, here that's going to run the show. I'm just going to be technical support and technical and emotional and social support today. But I think Chris was inspired by some things that she saw and learned and heard about at our USEC conference last Saturday. If you haven't heard about filter bubbles, it's an interesting phenomenon that people might not know about, and it makes the world we're living in make a little bit more sense. So I
or it
won't
can be
spoil.
scary.
Yeah, oh, for sure that. But anyway, I'm not going to spoil any more surprises. Chris, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Clint. Appreciate it. So today I want to talk about district filters, and as Clint mentioned, filter bubbles and Utah's online library and how they can all kind of blend together. So first, let's talk about district filters. You're probably pretty familiar with those, right? I know most of you have iBoss. There's some other ones, Lightspeed, Palo Alto, and those are the filter, the mechanisms, the software that districts put into place to be able to filter what the students are getting. And so, why do the filters do that? How many times have you been trying to do something on YouTube or something and trying to teach, and you come across one of these filters, right? And you can't get there and think, why? It's a cooking channel, or it's something that is okay, but why is it filtered? Because districts are trying to protect the kids. They have to protect the kids. That's part of what SIPA, Child Internet Protection Policy Act, and they have to follow that. And because they follow that, they get money from the state and the federal government in the form of E-rate funds, and that helps pay for the internet service. So if we're going to have the internet, we need to filter it, right? So these filters work to block certain search terms or sets of words. Sometimes they're just a generic list provided by the vendor that sold the software that says, generally these are all the bad words. So when we think of things like, porn or, all those awful topics that we really don't want kids searching for, all of those keywords are in there. Or sometimes you've just got one poor tech guy pounding away at his computer, trying to keep everything safer, checking off all these boxes. And so that blocks a lot of things. It can block gaming sites, innocuous type sites, and they can also block complete sites. I pretty much guarantee you, if your site, a site that you're trying to access, has gaming in it or shoot 'em up games, anything like that, that whole site's going to be blocked, right? I mean, I've even been where Minecraft, which could be a teaching game, seeing where that's blocked. So, the districts are only trying to do that to help keep our students and teachers safe. But sometimes it's too heavy of a thumb on there, and it blocks us from doing things that we want when we're trying to use Google. Okay. So sub-districts may have an allow policy. You may be fortunate enough to be able to say to your district tech person or somebody, hey, I really need to use this site in my lesson, and they may allow it. But can you imagine for a district if every teacher was saying, I want this site, I want this site, I want this site, how difficult that would be? So it's really hard to be able to police that. And it's also like playing whack-a-mole. Clint and I work with all the tech directors, and we meet every month and we talk about, all the things that they're trying to do. And as soon as you make one part safe, something else pops up. I mean, there's just so many spammers and fishers and all those bad guys out there trying to, get in the back door to be able to get their content in front of our students' eyes. So those district filters are there to protect us. Then there's something called filter bubbles. This is really amazing. This should be a really, Clint, we might want to do this for a future section just to talk about this. Our friend Cody Spedlove up in Alpine School District, he's presented this before, and I'm fascinated. And this is like a 65-page presentation that I've linked there that you can go in and look, but it really does a deep dive into how does Google really work? Or, why is it if I talk to somebody about going on a trip to Tahiti on my phone and a phone call, all of a sudden now I'm getting these ads for plane trips? How does that work?
My wife and I have this discussion all the time. We talk about something in our house, and then all of a sudden, like an hour later, it shows up in her Facebook ads. So,
Yeah.
and we have an Alexa behind us, and so she's probably listening to us. But
And
that's part of those filter bubbles. Yeah.
it's part. And so we take a lot of this technology as a convenience, right? And we think, oh, we can just say, hey Siri, show me this. Oops. No, never mind. Um, we just think we can ask. And what about kids in the classroom? A lot of teachers are putting Siri or Google Home into their Alexa into their classroom so that kids can just ask questions. And if you've got it in your home, is it listening all the time? We think so, but the companies say no, 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 it's all private. We would never do that, but I don't know.
Regardless, you get results back based on what you search.
Right.
And like especially YouTube, if you look at YouTube, the stuff you watch will come up. Those suggestions are driven by what you watch. So it's
Right.
always interesting to see what comes up in suggested videos when somebody opens up YouTube. It's like, oh, okay, I know what you
Yeah.
watch. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. So that's exactly like Clint said. It takes your search history into consideration. So even if you go online and search for something like shoes, okay, and then later that night you're on Facebook, you ever notice that there's a million ads for shoes now? And you think, this is Facebook, this is Google. They're two separate things. How does that happen? Well, Google and Facebook are like this, and they actually, Google kind of mines some of your information and sells that to Facebook. Facebook does the same thing. Facebook is there to collect information. I mean, that's a whole nother session we could do too, but they collect that information and they sell it to shoe companies saying, hey, this is the demographic that you want to target because they're searching for shoes. It's an amazing history. And so no two searches are alike. So Clint could search something from his computer, the same word, I could search it, and we're going to get completely different results. Okay. And we'll talk about a little bit that later, because what happens when you're trying to teach in a class and every student's getting a different set of results? Why does that happen? And that's because those students' biases are in there. But then there's other biases that are controlling the searches. Think about during election time. Remember how awful that was? If you're on Facebook or any type of social media and some of the feeds, you may only see feeds and posts from people that you agree with and not really the other side of the coin. So, that was the huge thing. We won't even get started about the banning of the president from Twitter, that type of stuff. But it's because that kind of stuff really kind of drives the results in what kids are exposed to in social media. So we really want to think about that when we're trying to teach kids how to research. So there's a link here, and if you click on that link, it will take you to Cody's full presentation. And there's just some amazing statistics.
I went and grabbed my tinfoil hat so we can talk about our conspiracies and things like that.
I almost put a picture of a tinfoil hat in there. I forgot you had that. So there's a video here that perfect explanation of it, and it's really great to show kids. It's only 2 minutes. We're not going to show it now because in the interest of time, I want to make sure we get to Utah's online library. But I would really come back and watch that video.
Go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's only 2 minutes.
I'll put the link to it in the chat. So.
Oh, good idea. Thanks, Clint. And so then we were talking about algorithms, and I've used this video and some other. Matt Cutts is like a Google expert. He's I don't know what his official title is, but he's in charge of web search and spam. Incredibly intelligent guy, and he does a lot of the Google skills training that you can use to teach your kids how to search Google. And I'm the first one to tell kids when I go do a training about Google versus databases that I got nothing against Google. If I want to look for a cake recipe or find a sports game or a funny cat meme or Justin Timberlake's latest video, okay, he may be dated, but if I want to find information like that, Google's great. But if
Love JT, you're good.
If I'm doing research and I have to do a research paper with citations and facts, then I need to be using some authentic research areas. And that's, Matt talks about this here about algorithms. How many times have we searched for Google and, oh, that top result, that must be the best one, right? It'd be the most valid, authoritative. No, that's who's ever paying the most in advertising, who's ever optimized their site the best. It's all a big game. So he talks a little bit about that, and it's good to show that to your kids so that they understand that they're being gamed, really. So when they do Google searches, as we said, it's dependent on search history and location. There are no filters, okay? Even if you have safe search on, you're going to get stuff from all over the place. And it's full of ads, right? And relevance. So I use this as an example a lot, especially when I do elementary. I search for bears. Oh, I didn't put the keyword in there. So this keyword was bears. I did the search. Look at how many results I got in a little over 1 second. Okay. Who's got time to search through that? Because I want to find out what Kodiak bears eat in the wintertime, right? Now I've got to look through all the football teams, the Twitter feeds, all of that stuff. Who's got time for that? So this is why we want to use databases, just to help filter that information out. So again, not telling the kids that Google is evil or bad, okay? And one of the big things is media literacy. That's a huge thing right now. There's so much information being sent out to kids, social media, Facebook, the news. It's so hard. We have to be better at teaching kids how to look at a wide array of sources and be able to look at that and synthesize it, find out what they need, and know what they can toss out. Okay. They need to understand that somebody created this for a reason. What is this website based on? Are they trying to sell me something? And like, I've got a whole list of fake websites that I show to kids. One of them is buy dehydrated water. Okay. Think about it. So there's some really interesting sites, and I'll show you those links next. So we want to make sure kids are media literate. So this is that one that I was just talking about. This is an article that I use in, let's see, Google versus databases. I use this when I'm teaching kids, and this is kind of just a funny little video to kind of break the ice, and it talks about algorithms and those types of things. And it's funny video where she talks about what you didn't search, and this one always gets the kids hooked because it's walking on water. These guys developed a spray that you can spray on your shoes and allows you to walk on water. Okay. And there's actually pictures of them walking on water. And so I just give them a little bit of teaser, and I just show them a certain part of it and, say, is this true? And let them try and investigate it. And then it kind of at the end, it debunks it, but good video to watch. And then if we come down here, I talked about some of those hoax sites, and there's some hoax sites here that you can show kids, and they look real because the things that we're looking at, it's pleasant, the links work, it's got, certain features that we're used to looking at to evaluate websites. And then you start looking a little bit deeper and you figure, oh, no, that's not right. So that's a great resource, and that's linked, and you are free to use that in a lesson. Fix that. And then this was really interesting. This is what kind of sparked it. I read this last night, and I know Clint had wanted me to do Utah's online library, and I thought I've got to use this as the basis. How many of you have seen or heard this article or heard about this? Let me make this screen bigger. Oh, I guess I can't. There we go. How many of you have heard about what happened up in Park City? Okay, so
it's hard to see what you've got on the screen. You can drag it around to resize it, or
yeah. Thank you. Let me get it. Okay, so up in Park City, the kids were doing a report and working with their teacher, and they Googled gay rights in Poland, and they found out that gay was blocked, LBQT, all of these terms were blocked. Okay, because the filters block them, the school district filters. So there's a big long conversation about this. And then Ray Timothy, who is, what's his actual position?
He's the CEO, UBN.
Yeah.
Yep.
His executive director of UBN said, they don't set policy. Their primary role in content filtering is to help the districts. So the districts buy their content filtering, and it's left up to the school districts to determine. Okay. So, and that's where he kind of said, sometimes it's up to the schools, it's the software, but there's a whole big article about, some of the issues that this can cause. Because think about it, if kids are trying to research and they're only getting the bias, the one side of things, is that really a good way for them to do research? And I think this is the key to it. We can't offer kids both views if we're filtering their content and we're putting them in that filter bubble. Okay. So good article, good read. I would go back and read that. I got to make my screen. I should have just done full screen share. And then also the media literacy skills, and that's just a link to Common Sense Media that's going to show you some more media literacy skills. Okay, so what does that have to do with Utah's online library? That's the tool. That's where we can take kids and we can go show them unbiased information. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that in just a second, but I want to tell you about these links. But I need to slow down. I've got too much to tell you. Okay, so we have our Gale resources. Okay, we're going to look at those. We're going to have topic finder. That's going to be that's our hidden gem today. And then the UEN resources I want to show you. And I'm going to stop sharing and reshare real quick, just so I don't have to mess with that screen now that I'm full screen.
Yep.
And that's, there we go. Okay, so now you can see this is UEN's site for Utah's online library, and they've got resources here, teaching resources, tutorials, you know, a lot of good information. And there's some videos here, lots of information that you can watch to get more information on Utah's online library. But we're just going to dive right into it. And let me back this one up, just one. So you guys are familiar with this, right? Because everybody uses Utah's online library, right? Do I see heads nodding? Okay. Whenever
They use it when they remember about it.
I know, that's what so many times I've done a training with teachers and then go back a year later and oh yeah, but when I do teach it to teachers, it's like, oh, I can't believe we've got this awesome resource and we forget about it.
Reminding you guys, yeah.
Yeah, but we keep going to Google. We're all the same, right? We go to search, we go to Google, and that's what the kids do. So trying to use this, and this is where having a good librarian can really help you out because they're trained on this as well. But there's so many resources in here that are available to you that we're so lucky because UEN and our legislators pay for these. Most other states, the schools, districts, libraries have to purchase them on their own. So then you have one school may buy this one, another school buys that one, then you've got this mishmash. So let's get into Gale because we've only got 10 minutes left. We're going to look at Gale reference collection. So these are mostly going to be secondary level type things. So you have a few options. You can go to the training materials right here. And so if you go to the training materials, here are full-on lesson plans. So let's just filter it by lesson plans. And anybody got a lesson coming up that they, let's see, life cycles lesson plan. So if I click on that, it's going to download a PDF for me. Let me move this over. Okay, so you see this lesson plan?
You shared your browser window, so that's all we see.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
that's fine.
Yeah, there's a PDF there that has a full lesson plan. Yeah, I didn't share my desktop. Thank you. So there's lesson plans in there that you can use. Okay. But this power search, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I love. Because in most of the databases, you really can't search the whole database like you can Google. You know, Google, you can search all the websites. Here, you have to go into a particular website. But we'll do a power search. Okay, and so we're going to search all of these topics. We can just do a search and go across those different databases, but we're going to use Topic Finder. This is my favorite hidden gem. I have used this so many times in the classroom with students. Last year I was in a school and the kids were stumped because they were doing research papers on abortion. And that could be a touchy subject, right? When you start talking about, you know, abortion or gay rights or any of those kind of hot topics, if you go do a Google search on abortion, you know, think of the things that these kids were finding. They were finding, you know, clinics and marches and just so much misinformation. But if we did one here, and this is the part that I love about it, I'll search. And it gives me this really nice visual, but not just the visual, but now I can start thinking and brainstorming about other terms. So what other words could I start looking and searching for if I'm searching on abortion, or if I'm searching for gay rights, or bears or any topic, because sometimes if you ask kids to look up biographies or famous historical people, they don't know all the other keywords to look for. So this kind of gives you a choice. So you start, okay, do I want to look at the bills, bans, services, the Supreme Court? So if we just say human rights, so we click on that, and notice how it fills this whole side with these articles, and these tie right into those keywords that I've put in. And if I want to narrow it down a little bit, maybe I could do civil rights. Okay, and then that narrows it down. Oops. And that narrows it down to right here. So here's the article. Now I'm going to click on this, and it's not going to take me out to Google to find that article. It's going to take me into Gale Power Search. Okay, and it's going to have, this one was just a short citation. Okay, it's going to give me the citation. Let's go back and find an article. I should have looked closer at that. Let that load again. And let's see, we'll do this one. So now I've got this complete article. And then again, remember those Gale resources that we've talked about in the past? I can listen to it. I can press this button. I can listen to it. I can save it to my Google Drive that will save it with the citations that are down at the bottom. Okay, I could highlight certain things and save them and send those to my Google Drive. But here now I've got all this information, and it's not that filtered by bubbles or filtered by previous searches or biased. It's going to have just the facts. How's that so far?
Very cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I love it because this one, it's only in secondary, it's not in elementary, but you can still use it to search for words. Some of the articles maybe a little bit, but when you start talking about that concept of, what words, what do we want to look for? And so you can put it in a wheel as well. Okay. And then that kind of shows the same thing. So if you click on that, it'll go right there. And again, the same thing, and it gives you the articles. Okay, so if we go back to Power Search, again, we can still search right here. So imagine if we searched that same keyword right here. Okay, so now you get this. That's a little bit harder still for kids to kind of filter. So they can look right here and they can filter. So maybe they want to filter by the Lexile measure, okay, or search within, but it gives them the Lexile right here, whether it's an article. So they get that little summary. Does that look better than Google search? I mean, imagine if I opened up another tab right now and search for abortion on Google, what I would get. Okay, and you would get something different, and Clint would get something different. We wouldn't be getting the same authentic facts. Okay, and so one of the things, let's go back to Topic Finder. One of the things that the kids in that article about Park City were complaining about is they were doing a subject or an article on gay rights. So, and everything was blocked. Okay, but if I search for gay rights here, okay, I'm not going to be blocked because this has been vetted by Gale. For one, Gale is only going to serve up content into our databases that meets the restraints that, or the confines that UEN has put in. So they're still going to filter. They're not going to send bad stuff. Okay. And which that's a whole nother topic, because what I consider bad and you consider, and Clint, everybody kind of has their own. Okay. Is a nude work of art pornography? Okay. So that's, but in our databases, UEN has been so good about making sure that this is stuff that is appropriate for students. Okay. So imagine those kids in Park City. Where was their librarian, right, when all this happened? Because if they would have had a librarian to take them here and to show them this, they'd be off and doing theirs. But now they're blocked because the filter, and now it's gone from a filtering issue until all of a sudden now Park City is against these things. So it's turned it into a political issue just because of the words that were banned. Okay, and that's not really fair to the kids or to the teachers. So here I can go through and I can do the same kind of search, but look at all the different words. So think about how that gets kids thinking about how this affects, what does it look like, what are some of the things, because if you talk about gay rights, there's so much to it, but kids don't know what it is. So there's things I see: college, Olympics, religion, White House, all of that stuff. Get them to start explore and really get to know the subject. Okay. Got 2 minutes for questions. Oh, 4 minutes.
4 minutes. You did well.
Look at me, Clint.
Good job. You're getting these down.
I'm getting these down. Good stuff.
Nothing in the chat. No, nothing in the chat. But if you guys have questions on this, or again, anything else ed tech, we are happy to try to answer those for you. And students can use online library from home. They just need to have a username and password, which is always available to you as a teacher from the Utah's Online Library homepage. So this year it is online and database.
Yep. And you can share that in your Canvas page. They just ask that you don't share it publicly because this is only for students. And so like Clint said, if they go to the online library from school on a school network, it recognizes it. If they go from home, they're going to get a little login window that's going to ask them for that password. And there is in the resources, and I think I showed you this last time, in the support materials here. Oh, they changed it. Let's see if the home letter's here. Instructional, scavenger hunt, search tips. Oh, it's not here anymore. They used to have registration, lesson plans.
Classroom activities.
I don't think so. Let's see if it's under resources. Nope. That goes to eMedia. I'm going to have to check on that because there used to be a link that was a home letter. This page used to be different for the support materials.
They've changed it. Here's the link. I'll put it in the chat.
You see it?
Yeah, I went one level deeper in that link. They haven't updated it yet.
Okay. So that's a home letter that he put in there that you can take and kind of customize, change it a little bit for you, put the password and username, and then send that home. Remember that password changes every August 1st, and so they get a new one. And this just keeps the site available for Utah students. So again, we are so lucky to have this resource. It is just, It's a fantastic resource for students and teachers, but it's so hard getting past that mentality of why can't I just Google it? And kids need to understand that there's relevance in here, and it's actually easier because they can share it to Google Drive. They don't have to copy and paste from Google. So a lot of great resources.
Yep. Thank you, Chris. I put the link to the roll in the chat there. So make sure you guys sign that before you sign off, or shortly thereafter. I guess you can just open the link.
That was awesome, you guys.
Yeah, it's something that bears repeating, and again, people forget that it's there, and then we get frustrated with Google and how can we get better results, and then this is sitting in our back pocket. So keep it in mind.
Yep. And as always, happy to come out and present. I've worked with a lot of your librarians. Happy to come into the classroom and show the kids how to use it. Always happy to help spread the word on Utah's Online Library. It's what librarians do.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.